Hazel decided that they were non-binary when they were about 4. They had been exploring gender before that, trying on different pronouns.
So you were born a girl, but you feel like a boy, right? That kind of means you're transgender.
You were saying that you were raising him as gender neutral, and it really up to him to kind of choose his way forward in this life.
Not answering the question, is it a boy or a girl, to avoid the B word and the G word.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So first things first, it would be a mistake for me not to mention my gratitude for the support on my last video, which last time I checked is at about 1 million views. That does not happen every day on my channel, so I wanted to say thank you for all the support and hello to everyone who's new on the channel. Now, I was hoping that my next video after that one would be, not as disturbing, but unfortunately, I guess I'm on just a kind of dark streak of content right now, so let's just get into it. I felt really compelled to talk about this, so I came across this article. Britain's first transgender family reveals that their son, age 5, is also transitioning.
See, when you do clownery, the clown comes back to bite.
This is the dad, Greg Rogers, who is a trans man, female to male trans, and his wife, Jody. This is their son, who is now living as their daughter at the ripe old age of 5. So apparently social services have been called to this family out of their friends and family's concern that they are forcing this upon their child, encouraging their child to be trans just because their dad is. Like, I'm even speaking as a trans person. At 5 years old, I didn't want to be a boy or a girl. I wanted to be a Power Ranger. Now, I may have wanted to be the pink Power Ranger, but regardless, I wanted to be a superhero. I didn't have this gender ideology thrust upon me. Now, I don't think that this new gender ideology, which is growing and expanding and making new rules by the month, is something that is super healthy to be forced upon kids. Let kids be kids. That shouldn't be a radical concept. For some reason, this is something that has been popping up a lot, more and more lately. These, parents who are trans, and then just coincidentally, out of nowhere, who would have guessed their child at the age of 5, 6 is as well. I did a past video on a situation just like this where the dad is trans, and then go figure, the child is too.
So you are a transgender boy, you know what that means?
So you were born a girl, but you feel like a boy, right? That kind of means you're transgender. Okay? And that's okay, but that's just the term for it. Do you like doing quiet girly activities, or do you like jumping around and being crazy and tackling everybody? Boy activity.
There are two possibilities here. Either there is a genetic link to being trans, for which there is no evidence for that. That's not something that we know to be true. Or this is something that is being pushed by the parent onto the child. So let's just establish a few things. I am trans myself. I personally did feel gender dysphoria and, the feeling of being different or something being wrong as early as 5. However, two things can be true at once. It can also be true that it's highly suspect that all of a sudden there are all these families in the media getting all this attention because the parent is trans and so is the child. But it is so unlikely. I mean, statistically, trans people are less than 0.1% of the population. I hope to God these kids are genuinely trans and that this isn't something that's being forced on them. I really, really do. But even then, I take issue with kids, transitioning that young. I think that I made my stance very clear on that one. And then you have this new breed of parents who are raising babies, aka non-binary babies. I can't believe that's something I actually said out loud. Non-binary babies. Has life really dwindled down to this?
But what about this? Having a baby instead of a baby. It's a new term that some parents are using to show that they're bringing up their offspring gender neutral.
Yeah, I'm non-binary, which means that I don't identify as a man or a woman, and I use they, them pronouns. All of the adults in my household identify as transgender or non-binary. Hazel decided that they were non-binary when they were about 4. They had been exploring gender before that, trying on different pronouns, experimenting with different names, but they picked they, them pronouns and chose the name Hazel.
And of course, these parents also happen to love the limelight, so they're going to get media interviews about it. Check this one out.
Louise was born a man, but is now having hormone treatment to transition to become a woman. and dresses as both a man and a woman, depending how you're feeling. Is that right, Nikki, on the day? And both of them wanted to raise their son as gender neutral, so that he thinks of himself as a person rather than a boy. Did I get that right? Have I explained that fairly well? Yeah. You don't want to use the word "you're a boy"?
No.
But is that not confusing for you? Because I find that quite confusing, because he biologically is born a boy.
Obviously, if you ask a child a binary question, are you A or are you B? They're going to give you a binary answer. If you ask them an open question, they'll give you an open answer.
Now, to me, there is a difference between raising a child in an environment where things are maybe more open, where you're not forcing gender roles down their throat, like you must play football because you're a boy, you must be a ballerina because you're a girl, and raising a baby. Because make no mistake, raising a child where you are forcing they, them pronouns on them and calling them non-binary and calling them babies, that's not raising them in an open environment, that's telling them what they are. That's actually the opposite of raising them in an open environment. You're categorizing your child. And you're categorizing them in a way where you're telling them they are neither. And far be it for me, someone who is not a parent, to tell a parent how to raise their kids, but I can tell you I would never do that.
Gendering is harmful. I think so too.
How do you avoid gendering your children?
We didn't choose anything but gender-neutral names. We chose not to know what sex they would be assigned when they were born. Not answering the question, is it a boy or a girl, to avoid the B word and the G word. Changing pronouns in books. Instead of it always being mama, we say mama and mapa. What's the matter, sweetie? Ask mapa. It's so dark. Don't be afraid, says Mapa. I'll call the lanternfish. Sleep tight, little rainbow fish.
Especially because there have been so many studies that show that gender roles are actually conducive to a healthy environment for a child. They're actually good for most children. Now, of course, there's always going to be a subset of the population and of children who don't naturally fall into the sort of hardline gender role that they're expected to fall into. And I definitely do not support treating that child badly or, forcing something upon them. But that's just that. You're forcing non-binary onto children by rejecting that so hard. Just because a certain set of the population does not thrive under gender roles does not justify tearing the whole thing down. Does that make sense? Now, make no mistake, transgender people and kids who experience gender dysphoria and gender identity disorder at a very young age have existed forever. There is a long historical context for those types of things. What there isn't a long historical context for is parents and children transitioning together at the same time. And call me crazy, this is just my speculation, my conspiracy, allegedly. I think in the coming years, when some of these children come of age and have a voice for their own beyond their parents speaking to the media about them, you're gonna find that a lot of them actually had this pushed onto them. All of them, no. Some of them, probably. I don't feel it's even a kid's place to be learning about the intricacies of sexuality and gender identity and what being trans is. I don't think that there should be these channels like Queer Kid stuff that gets put on TED Talks and platformed to teach 3- and 4-year-olds about what it is to transition. I don't like it.
And what does it mean to be trans?
It's when you do not identify with your assigned gender.
That's right. Being trans means that the gender and pronouns you identify with don't match the gender you were assigned when you were born.
But what does that have to do with transition?
Well, sometimes trans and non-binary grown-ups go through what we call a transition.
They do?
Can you help me out?
Sure. A gender transition is when a trans or non-binary person does something so their gender identity matches their gender presentation.
I can tell that she smells. I'm getting a distinct hot dog water vibe. Teach your kids to be kind to people who are different than them. Teach your kids that it's okay to be themselves and they will figure it out for themselves. In the end, they will. They always will. All right, guys, that is all I have for today. Definitely leave a comment down below. I will be in the comment section. Definitely consider being a member to this channel. It helps me out immensely and allows me to continue creating content. Subscribe if you haven't, hit that bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.